Hey everybody, I am going to be sharing my techniques for coloring with these Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers. I have had several people ask me to do a slow video of coloring with the markers with the watercolor paper and what I do and my techniques and everything like that. I am not an expert. I just figured out a way that works for me, and maybe these tips will work for you. I will have all of the supplies used listed down below. I'm going to be using a Altenew stamp set today, but you can definitely use any types of image stamps that you want. Floral, butterflies, these little cats and birds that are super cute. I haven't used these yet. Or even smaller images, and just you need to use a smaller watercolor brush. So I use VersaMark ink, and this is just a sticky ink that embossing powder can stick to. And I like doing the embossing on the watercolor paper because it gives me a little border, and it helps me stay in the lines, and I'm able to get those shadows and highlights in the areas that it needs to be a little bit better. I don't know, it just helps me out a little bit better. So I use the superfine embossing powder, and I use the white. And this tool, I haven't decided if I like it 100% yet. I don't use it today, but it's just a little powder tool to help the embossing powder not stick where it the VersaMark isn't. So it just helps with that. And today I'm going to be using the Strathmore watercolor paper, and this is the 140-pound cold press watercolor paper. And I also am going to be using the Holtz stamp platform, only because when I am using the VersaMark ink onto the watercolor paper, I like to stamp it twice because the watercolor paper will absorb some of that ink. So these are definitely well used. Some of them are stained from my India inks, but it doesn't have any effect on how they work. They work perfectly fine, and they are the Pentel watercolor brushes. And I got the Zig markers on Amazon. Super good deal. Couldn't pass it up. All of them have worked perfectly fine. I haven't had any issues. I get asked that all the time if any of them are dried up or anything. I've had them for quite a while, and I don't use them quite often, but I think some of the colors I have used pretty often, and they work perfectly fine. So I'm taking the Holtz stamp platform and generously adding the VersaMark ink. Like I said, I want to make sure that the stamps are well inked up, because the watercolor paper is going to absorb some of that ink. And then I am going to stamp it twice. And I love this stamp platform to do this technique. It has definitely changed my way of stamping, and I started off as a stamper and card maker once I got into paper crafting, and this is definitely a game changer for me. I love it so much, and I use it all the time. So I am pressing firmly, and you want to make sure that your paper is in the same place as the first time. That's important because you don't want to have offset stamped image. And then I'm just I added the embossing powder, and then I'm just heat setting that, and doing this is going to melt the embossing powder, just in case any of you are new to heat embossing. It's really cool, and there's thousands of different embossing powders. There's ones with glitter, shimmer, there's just so many different options. It's definitely a really cool technique if you're new to embossing. So what I'm doing here is I'm taking my watercolor brush, and this one is the medium size from the Pentel ones that I showed earlier. and I just add a little bit of water to one or two of the petals. I work very well, I want to say fast, but it's kind of slow. I do try to work a little fast just because I don't want that color to dry up. But so I add a little bit of water to the petals, and then I add the color. So it's been a while since I have actually colored images, so I forgot my flow, my workflow, and I was just trying to get back in the groove. And these first couple petals I do a few different colors, and then I realized that my favorite way to do it is just using one color basically, or possibly two depending on the colors. And so I just added the lighter color first, and then where the petals meet in, you know, the edges of the petals where there would be natural shadows, that's where I'm going to add the darker color. And what I'm doing is I am taking the brush and pouncing it on. I'm not really using a stroking method or way of blending out the color. It's more of a pounce stroke, I guess is how to explain it. It has worked for me, and other people that have shared that they have tried it, it's worked for them. And again, you just definitely have to kind of play around with the markers and different brushes. You know, not everybody is going to have the same results. And I don't press heavily. It's very light touch, and there's not a lot of water on the brush. I squeeze it only a couple times throughout this whole process of coloring the image, so it's not really wet on the watercolor brush. So you saw that I kind of wiped off the marker, and that's because these are water-based. And when I add the marker to where the water already is, it's just kind of gonna grab all of that color and kind of water it down. So that's why I have that little area on the side there where I just kind of mark it off and get that color flowing again. So I don't dry in between, and if I feel that I haven't put enough water on a petal, I will definitely add more before coming in with another color. But you could see here that I added a darker color, and then I am just blending out, but again using that pouncing motion. It's not a full stroke. I definitely try to explain it as well as I can. I'm not the best with words, but I definitely try to explain it, and I hope that I explain it good enough. I know that a lot of people have asked me to do a video explaining more on how to color these images and using the zig markers. And again, I'm not an expert. I just hope that I can help you guys because I love these markers. I don't have very much success with alcohol markers, and I was really reluctant actually to buy the zig markers because of that reason. But I'm glad I did because I just love it, and I love coloring the images, and it's just really relaxing to me. So enough rambling. I kind of had to ramble a little bit. This video is quite long. Again, I do use a circular motion sometimes. Just depends on how much I need to work out that color. And then I pounce on the color, and then I'm going to pounce and have it's like a half pounce, half stroke motion, if that makes sense. And it is hard for me to see because my lights are pointed up, so my area is actually pretty dark, but my camera, I'm able to lighten it up as it's going into the video. I don't know if that even makes sense. But what I'm actually seeing on my desk is pretty low. It's low light, so it's hard for me to see. So I'm having a little bit of trouble. But again, I just basically do the same thing to all of the petals, and I hope you guys can find some sort of help in this video, and I hope that I've explained it good enough. And I don't know if I have anything else to say about anything, any tips or anything. Just basically pouncing on the color. Make sure that you add the water first. That's, I think, the most important thing, is adding a little bit of water to the petals first and not working the whole flower. So you're going to want to work in little sections, and it definitely is going to take time and practice to get your shading right. And sometimes I get lucky and it turns out amazing, and this time I didn't really like it as much as the card that I showed at the beginning, but that's okay. Like I said, I haven't really colored in a long time, so I definitely need a little bit more practice. But I think I'm just going to play some music, and if you have any more questions, leave them down below and I will try to answer them. And if it's needs another video, I definitely do another video. And let's see, I hope you guys have a great weekend, and give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Share it with a friend, share it on social media. It really helps me out. And I want to thank you guys for watching, and I will catch you guys later. Bye.